Hello, everyone, and welcome to that Deacon on YouTube. This month is all about deacon stoles. More specifically, these are my deacon stoles, and they contain stories. So that's what I'm going to share with you today, deacon stoles and their stories, right here on That Deacon on YouTube. Before I get on with the stories, I thought I'd just share a little bit of information about the stole, and more specifically, the deacon stole. Now, the history of stoles is pretty vague. There's not a lot of information that is consistent. Also, they didn't really come into being as we know them today until around the 9th century. And as for deacon stoles, they started to show up not in the West, but in the East, in the Eastern Church in Byzantium. Now, stoles, they say, came from the Senate. I don't know about that. But they say that they used to wear a particular garment that would show their rank in the Senate. That doesn't sit quite well with me. I'm not sure that the church would have borrowed something like that. Also, I found out, now this is in the West, that stoles were linked to a passage in Matthew that says, "Come to me, all that are weary, all that are burdened, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Again, I don't quite buy that one, even though they might have used that particular passage as a reason for creating stoles. That is reverse scholarship as far as I'm concerned. You know, when you come up with something you want to do and then go through the Bible to go, oh, that's why. Well, that's not very good scholarship. They don't know why deacons wear our stoles on the shoulder coming across. Of course, the priest, it goes down this way. Deacon stoles are worn over the left shoulder, and they come down that way and are attached here. They don't know why they've started to do that either. There's no consensus that I could find. One of the excuses was so that their hands could be free if they had to do something, serving at the altar to assist the priest, or in something that you need to do at the altar to help set up. I don't think having it on the left side would make any difference. So I'm not going to buy that one either. But there is one bit of information I saw that makes sense. Now, if any of you work in the kitchen when you're cooking dinner, or maybe if you're a guy and you don't cook but you're doing your barbecue, I mean, we're coming into summer now, so maybe you happen to have a napkin and you take it and you place it on your shoulder so you can do something and then come down and wipe your hands or use it. Many times when I'm cooking, I will throw a dishcloth or a hand cloth, over my shoulder to keep my hands free. That makes sense to me, because the notion of the deacon is to be the head waiter, or the person maintaining the food at the table. It makes sense to take a napkin and throw it over your shoulder. In fact, I think in one of the books that I read early on about the diaconate and its role in liturgy, many times the deacon will clean the vessels after Eucharist. My church where I served, we didn't do that. But I understand other churches, they still do that. They said in the book it is appropriate if you have more than one vessel you have to clean, to take the napkin while vested and throw it over your shoulder. That is perfectly all right. That makes sense to me as the deacon, as a representation of the servant at the table. So that's the one bit of information I think is probably more valid than the rest. So let's start with my stoles and the stories associated with them. Now, the first one here is a stole that was made for me by one of our parishioners. They had bought a fancy sewing machine that did embroidery on it. And she needed the practice because she wanted to learn how to use the machine. And she came and asked if she could make me a stole. She wanted to know what color and blah, blah, blah. Typically, when people would like to make a stole, I will usually tell them green. Why green? Well, it's the stole you wear for most of the year. After Pentecost, you will wear a green stole until Advent. So, typically. So that's why I have this one. I would wear this one occasionally during the summer. Now, the center stole is my ordination stole. You always wear red on ordinations, and I was attending, as I did every year, our convention that takes place in December for the Diocese of LA. And there are a lot of vendors, a lot of big vendors are there trying to sell vestments and clergy shirts and other paraphernalia to clergy at the convention. I had found out that November that I was to be ordained in February. So my rector said to me at the convention, pick out any red stole and I will buy it for you as a gift for your ordination. So I looked and looked and looked, and I found this wonderful red stole by Chagall is the maker. They make some very nice vestments, but I'm going to show you what's really the selling point for me, because I ended up having this custom made for me. While I was looking around particular vendors, I came across a chasuble, that's the outer garment a priest wears when they celebrate Eucharist. It had this great Jerusalem cross and the 4 evangelists on it. Isn't that cool? And I asked them, I said, well, I would like to buy this stole, and I like the fact that it's got these little different shades of red in it and little sparkles. And then I asked them if they could take the embroidery from the chasuble and put the 4 evangelists on my deacon stole. And they said, of course. And it's just the most wonderful thing, because when I am preaching or when I am proclaiming the gospel, right here are the 4 evangelists. So I have worn this many times to ordinations at the cathedral, and all of us clergy line up. I call myself one banana in the bunch, and a number of people have remarked on this stole. This is a very special stole that means a lot to me. That's why I saved it for last. It is hand woven, and it was gifted to me by a parishioner that really was not there that often. But we happened to have been the parish she felt most comfortable with at that time, mainly because she had particular problems with two of her children. Her daughter died quite unexpectedly in her 30s, and it came back to us that she had suffered from anorexia, which I didn't know at the time. And then a few years passed, and she started showing up again. And then one day, she walked into the office. Remember, I was a parish administrator, which allowed me to chat with many of our parishioners, or just regular walk-ins for that matter. She walked in one day and recalled that I had been quite open about my own personal recovery as an alcoholic. I didn't work it into every sermon, obviously, but if it was appropriate, I would bring my own story of recovery into a sermon. Many years, when it would be about time for my sobriety birthday, which is February 6th, by the way, I would make it known during the announcements that I've made it through so many years of sobriety. So the people in the parish knew about that. That is very important if you're dealing with pastoral care. You don't realize who will come to you when you have made this information known. Of course, having been to AA meetings and the such, that is really something that, unless they want people to know, that you keep to yourself. Well, one day she walked in and said that her son had struggled with alcohol addiction, and mostly, maybe some drugs, but a lot of it stemmed from his alcoholism. And she didn't quite know how to, I don't want to say give him a push, but to give a little bit of tough love. She had talked to me at length about this, and I realized that she was an enabler, which happens many times with parents of alcoholic children. And so we had a talk about enabling, and I had suggested that he maybe was near the bottom. Maybe he had finally reached the point where he's going to hit bottom when he can no longer, in his alcoholic haze, come up with some excuse to keep on drinking. There comes that point where you hit bottom. And in order to do that, I had suggested that she cut off all communication with him, because she really was enabling him a little bit too much. And so she said she would think about it. And a few months had passed. I think I saw her one more time in between that, where she was starting to buckle a bit, and suggested that you are not a bad mother doing this. You are actually, it's tough love, to quote that probably overused phrase, but that she should stay steadfast in her commitment to his sobriety by not talking with him. Leave the door open and state why you don't want to have communication. And when you sober up, the door will be opened. And so then another couple of months went past, And she walked in one day and said that her son had gone into rehab, that it had been a few months, he had come out, and he was clean and sober. And she finally got her son back. And as a gift, she handed me this stole. This stole means a lot to me, not only because it's a story of a great happy ending. It verified for me that my pastoral care and concern and my willingness to walk through this crisis with this person had a positive outcome. You know, many times you are talking to people with a particular issue, and you don't want to give too much advice, but in this respect, being a recovering alcoholic myself, I felt that I had a little bit better knowledge of the best way for her to handle this. So it could have gone terribly wrong, but God was with them and walked with them through this crisis in their relationship and his crisis with his health. He eventually became as happens many times, became a counselor of people with addictions. So this stole means a lot to me. The second reason this stole means a lot, and I honestly cannot find it, when she handed me this stole, she said that it was one of the rejects because there's a flaw in it. Well, I could not see the flaw at all. But I explained to her that this stole is perfect for setting the table for the Eucharist, because all of us are flawed. We're flawed because we're human. And it is exactly those flaws that God loves and protects. And so when I would prepare the table for Eucharist, not only was I there to show the congregation what loving grace is all about, a gift, but also that this gift is given despite our flaws. So this stole means a lot to me, and I wear it a little bit more than the other ones. That's all I have for you this month. I hope you enjoyed my stole stories. And remember, if you see an unusual stole that your priest is wearing, go up and ask about it. I'm sure they have a story too. So that's all I have for you this month. God bless.